Welcome back to the Glint Standard. Today we're going to be talking about the art and science behind copywriting. Okay, expert copywriter, nitpicker of all in the agency.
But why am I the nitpicker?
Because we need a nitpicker, and you're really good at it.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm...
That sounded bad. Doesn't a nitpicker sound negative? It's because you understand punctuation really well.
I'm obsessed with words.
You are obsessed with words. That's maybe the best way to say it.
With words. And so I'm glad we're talking about copywriting. But it was kind of hard for me.
Okay.
When we decided on this topic, it was hard for me to write down tips or things that I've done in the past because it's really just a part of me. And it's kind of been how I've communicated my whole life. And so maybe that's why I was good at journalism. That's where my degree is in journalism. And so, yeah, it's hard to put it like pen to paper because it's just how I think. It's how Erayne thinks.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you're an expert at something, you take for granted the process that you go through because you've done it so many times. You're so good at it.
It's just like...
They have to stop and think about it. Like, well, obviously, this is what you do. Everybody does this, right? No, they don't.
And then you stop and you realize, no, they don't. They don't. But for you, I was able to get a few down, jotted down a few tips, so we can have a good discussion.
So you're going to be the science, and I'm going to be the art?
Yeah, sure.
All right,
it's
let's
a
do it.
Both,
all right, let's do it.
You know, I have a little bit of both.
Okay. I believe that.
Okay, so I think, look at my notes here. I have about 8 little things, but I'll start with the one that I love the most, and I think that is sometimes easy for me, but then sometimes hard. And I don't know how to explain that, y'all. But when I tell you, it's basically the no fluff. Take out all the extras in your writing. So I guess what I would say is that I was trained to take out the fluff. It may not have been what I naturally was, but I was trained to do it as a journalist. And I'm so glad that I was trained because I can cut it on and cut it off. I am usually just wordy. I'm wordy.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'm by nature wordy. But this forces me to shut it out. So in copywriting, you have to shut it out. So, there are some times when you might write a sentence and you say, in order to do this, or take out in order to. Just say, do this.
Get to the point.
Get to the point. And you find it in American literature all the time. We're very wordy as a culture. And so we just have to reduce some of those words, get straight to the point, give people what they want to hear. I think that social media, and I say this all the time, social media and just media in general nowadays is pretty much training our youth to get to the point now because attention spans are, low. And, you have to say what's important and you have to grab people's attention. And you're not going to with this tornado of words.
Right.
But anyway, something that I did not say, the definition of copywriting. Should we say that? What it
Do
is?
it.
Okay.
I think it's important. Then we'll discuss whether it's still relevant today.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. But I'm biased. So copywriting is another piece of the marketing advertising funnel or workflow that you might say. And it is the piece that deals with words and just where the words sit, how they interact with one another. And this cannot just be the written word. It can also be the spoken word. So it's not limited just to the paper. But what you want to do with copywriting is to have a call to action or to really promote a call to action. So that is its purpose. It is closing the deal. You've got the beauty and the pretty, creative, and then you add those words and add them properly, and you've closed the deal. And you're asking consumers or clients to buy or purchase or trust or download, that sort of thing. So
I think the most important thing you said there that I picked up on was purpose.
Yeah.
You don't just start writing to write.
Yeah.
Don't just design to design. Have a purpose. What are we trying to do? What are we trying to achieve? Be succinct. Get to the point.
Yeah.
I think you can add a little bit. That's like creative writing a little bit. Call it fluff, where you want to maybe try to tie creatively some of your copy to your imagery, so everything is cohesive. But you can go way too far with that, where you lose focus completely.
So I like that you said that, because there is a middle place where you add the creative and the storytelling and all of that and bring it together into the succinct sentence or paragraph for whatever creative that you're putting out. So that is very true, because it is storytelling, and it is trying to get an answer or some sort of action. So it's very important. The point that everybody needs to remember is that the words are important, and the punctuation is important, and the grammar is important. And even though we are in a culture and in a world where it doesn't feel like it is, we still got to abide by it. Advertisers and marketers, do not stray. Don't forget what you were taught in English class or journalism classes. Stay the course. So
I think that's key too, because advertising falls into the slot. Oh, we're an ad agency, so we can take some liberties.
Right.
And you know what? We can. However, if you take the liberty on purpose, I'm intentionally doing this wrong. Here's why.
Yeah.
Not, I did it wrong. It's okay.
Yeah. You have
That's the difference, I think.
You have something.
Purpose, right? Intentionality. We always talk about that.
Absolutely.
So that dives into psychology a little bit too, then, especially with CTAs.
Yeah.
It has purpose. What are we trying to do? Any keywords that you can think of that drive, is it exclamation points? Is it hurry? I mean, what are some of the words you think that really drive?
No, but I do have some tactical things that can help with copywriting. But what I do want to say first is that you have to be knowledgeable about what you're writing about or the product that you are selling. And so this goes back to what we were talking at the beginning. Like, you can't just write to write. And you can't just put this call to action out there without really knowing what you are endorsing. And it's really important. And I can't assume that other copywriters know that. It's a part of what I just do naturally, is related back, or I love to research, or at least want to be able to be to a point where I can talk about a subject knowledgeably. But there are some that do not. It's not important to them. But that's a no-no in copywriting. You really need to research, don't wing it, know something about that product. And then I would say go as far as knowing a lot about your audience.
That's important too, not just the product.
Yeah, because that can help you formulate some of the sentences. It helps you with the words that you choose. I will tell everybody that I always have thesaurus.com on my screen at all times.
I do as well.
Yeah.
Dictionary and thesaurus for me.
I usually use the thesaurus more than the dictionary, because I like to see how others, explain things. And then also I just like to have that choice of which direction am I going? This word fits better. So it's kind of like a word study. But anyway, know your audience. But something tactical that copywriters can do in their copy when they're pulling it together is to use bullets, indentions, block quotes. You can bold things. Subheadings are really good.
Smart.
To use. And sometimes we don't think of that as copywriters. We just think it is mostly the words.
But the structure is
format.
really important then.
Yeah, the
Not
format.
the sentence structure, but the format.
Yeah, it can play a part. And so what's funny is that I think about what I do just in my real life. I use bullets a lot. And there was a trend for PowerPoint that they said, don't use bullets, just line everything up. And I was like, no, I will never give up my bullets, because that's how people will take the information quicker and it will stick with them better. So anyway, as a copywriter, think beyond just the words. Think about the formatting.
Can you over format?
Yes.
Or is that really leaning more into the design side?
Okay, give me an example. And I bet you would.
You have a paragraph.
Yes.
And there's so much important stuff in there. And we're going to have some bullet points underneath. And hey, let's bold our company name so people really see it.
Yeah.
Oh, we really want this offer to stand out. So next sentence, we're going to bold this part.
Yeah.
Let's put these in quotes.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And you have all that going on.
Overexposure.
I imagine it, and what my thought is, it becomes a convoluted mess where you lost focus.
Yeah.
You didn't have purpose behind what you were doing to start with. When you see that type of mess coming,
right?
I mean, you're kind of winging it, right?
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah.
You agree?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think too much is just way too much. Italics. I read something a long time ago that said, use italics a lot, but you can't read it. So think about your audience and think about what you want to take away from the copy. Another good thing just in copywriting in general is when you're sitting down to write good copy, really think about what action you want people to take. I mean, do you want them to go to the website? Do you want them to call? Do you want them just to feel something and sit with it for a little bit and act later? What do you want them to immediately do? Because that really affects. And I think we all skip that step sometimes because we think we know, but we don't.
We don't. I think it's hard as advertisers, right? A lot of times the copywriters are relying on the designers to get that feeling.
Yeah.
And the designers are relying on the copywriters to deliver that feeling. And a lot of times nobody delivers that feeling.
Right.
It's still great, but it's not cohesive at that point. So it's important. Copywriting to me is a creative process that is probably leaning higher on the technical scale because it's got to be right. It's got to be proper.
Yeah.
And you can't have mistakes in it.
No.
Right? Sentence structure is important. Are we just doing one-off statements time and time again through a paragraph?
Yeah.
That's not really how a paragraph is supposed to be structured. So I think some of that and making sure that you have eyes, either yours or somebody else, if you've done the work, to read it, go, okay, I got off here a little bit, maybe we can adjust this and get some constructive feedback sometimes.
True.
And it makes everything better, right?
Yeah. Just thinking operationally in any type of organization behind the scenes, just don't work in silos. Sometimes it's good not to do that. You can work in silos when you're doing research or something like that, but really it's just not good for all of us. It's kind of an overarching business principle, really. Your copywriters need to be talking to your creatives. Your creatives need to be talking to your copywriters. We can learn from one another, and it will definitely yield a better product.
You have a strong point of view, for sure.
Yeah.
Which is really important.
This is something that I feel like I'm a broken record when I talk about it, but it is start strong. Start strong. Don't build up unless you absolutely know that there's a strategy behind building up or something. Like you're doing it on purpose.
Like the payoffs at the end kind of thing?
Right.
Okay.
But in most cases, you only have a limited amount of time to affect someone or to reach them. So you need to start strong. And inverted pyramid. It's not English.
That's good.
Can't say it enough. It is not English. It's more of a journalistic type of writing. And then you pull in those creative elements to like the featuring pieces.
But if you don't grab them right away, they're never going to get to the rest of it.
You need to who, what, when, where.
Okay.
right at the beginning, not at the end. But I'm not saying the end is not important, because the end is where you leave that lasting impression. So it needs to be strong as well. Just make sure that your end is not everything about the product or everything about what you want your client.
You feel like it
or
needs to
your
reinforce
consumer.
what you started with somehow?
Yes.
And
But
that's kind of
it's-
full
But
circle?
it's also where you can put the quirky. It's also where you can put something that relates back to the brand. It's kind of that brand worthy phrase or those words. I think the end was perfect for that.
Oh,
Perfect for that. So like you sell and then you move through your copy and then here's who we are.
Do you know of any way, I don't know, through data or tracking or anything, to justify copywriting, good copywriting? Like why you should do it? I don't know that there is.
To make people act.
Yeah, I mean, that's the result, right?
Yeah, you have to have the words.
But is the overall quick eye candy visual drawing you in? Does that get the
It
payoff for
draws
that?
me in, but it doesn't tell me where I need to go.
So it's really a balance of both. Then.
Yeah, I think you need both. You need strong. I mean, there are those exceptions of people that have done it well with just creative and something really compelling. But there's always a word, isn't there? It may not be a whole paragraph. It might just be 2 words in a period. There's always something that ties it up.
Yeah, I've always said words have meaning.
Yeah.
So choose them carefully because they do. They mean something to people when they read them or they see them. If you don't need them, don't do it.
Yeah.
I had a professor a long time ago, copywriting, designing, whatever it is, less is more.
Yeah.
Get to the point, like you were
Get
saying
to the
earlier,
point.
right?
Mhm.
And you build upon that based on what you're trying to achieve overall.
And use what's at your disposal. You know, if you have the ability to have really good creative and then you can add words, I mean, why not? Just, why not round it out that way? It just is, I love symmetry. And that feels like symmetry, doesn't it?
It does.
You know,
It does.
pulling that together. But yeah, words are very important.
Okay, one quick thought
Oh,
before we
gosh.
wrap it up. One of the biggest
Yeah.
copywriters coming around. Everybody knows them. They're doing a pretty good job. I want to talk to you just for a minute about how AI and their copywriting is good or bad.
Oh, I definitely think you should leverage AI. I
Okay.
think copywriters should leverage it more. The key is you don't get stuck with AI. So AI helps
Like writer's
you,
block?
well, no, get stuck using it without any type of adjustments. Don't get stuck in it and then
But that comes back to
Yes.
knowing your product, right? Or are you relying on AI to do the learning about the product for you?
get.
That's why it's important, I think, like you said, research, know your stuff. Then you know if that's going to be workable or not,
I
right?
agree. And then I think AI is good for options. It gives you an easy, fast way to see different scenarios. And then you use your judgment and what you know of the product and the brand to adjust it for that particular copy. I'm a fan of AI.
Yeah.
But I will warn everybody that the grammar and punctuation is not on it. You know, it's just not. And so just you do need to rely on what you've been taught or get you a good AP style book on your desk and use that regularly. But of course, I think I just aged myself.
Nerd alert. Nerd alert.
You can use it online. You can use it online. But yeah, AI is great. We do need to leverage it to save us time because I think it can take a lot of that, the tediousness of finding the right type of copy to fit the type of advertisement.
I like what you said about it gives you options. Maybe
Yeah.
it makes you think about it a little bit differently.
Yes.
Really, if that's the purpose of it, great. Because it's funny, I'll share this one cool quip. I've been playing with AI,
Yeah.
you know, and you can have it written and adjust and all of that in one program. You can put it into another one and it will correct everything that the other program did. Then you can take that, put it back in the other one, and it corrects it again. It's the funniest thing. Which just validates your point
Yeah.
of you have to be knowledgeable and know your stuff,
You do.
even if you're using it, because it is just a tool.
There's
So,
no way
anyway.
around that. It's just no way around it. Just do the right thing. Do your job.
Yeah, there you
And you'll create a good product, or at least a well thought of product. So, but yeah, those are my kind of best tips
Love it.
for
Very helpful.
copywriters.
I've learned a lot, and that's a good day for me. Always.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say let me just put this in here. I wouldn't say that I'm a nerd about words, but I have respect.
Respect for words.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Well, we're going to leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us during this episode. You can leave in the comments, is it respect or is it nerdism? Which one is it? Just let us know, and it'll be great. We can kind of maybe just poll it, but maybe it's a little bit of both. But thanks for joining us today. If you have any other questions, anything else you'd like to know about copywriting, or any other topics from an agency's point of view, drop us a line at agency@the Standard.
Please give us a thumbs up below if you like this episode, and feel free to leave us any questions or comments you may have. To check out our past episodes, do so here. Subscribe to our channel below.